Once upon a time, in a faraway land surrounded by rivers and mountains, there existed a beautiful blue field. Legend has it that the 100 yards of blue carpet possesses mystical powers, that the young men who play football on the blue carpet are blessed with triumph after triumph. But a couple of talented Texans who migrated to Oregon State are non-believers. They are here to puncture the myth. The Battle of the Blue is about to begin. You are looking live at one of the most scenic areas of the country, Boise, Idaho. Home to a fairy tale about college football. The Boise State Broncos have grown from a junior college to a university stalking a BCS national championship. And they've done it on their magic blue carpet. Since 1999, the Broncos are 71-2 on the blue. And Oregon State comes in tonight determined to do something about that number. Good evening, everybody. We're Kirk Herbstreit. I'm Brent Musburger. What a day it's been already. UCLA shocks Texas in Austin. Alabama prevails, but it was tough against Arkansas. Stanford continues to roll. I'll tell you, I didn't know where to look next this afternoon.
Every Saturday in college football, you think, it's a pretty good slate of games, and then you sit down and watch these games, and all kinds of chaos is everywhere. The thing that stood out to me is Jim Harbaugh going for 2 against Notre Dame up 34-6. That was kind of crazy.
Okay, now we had Boise State earlier. Kellen Moore was so impressive on their winning drive.
Yeah, I think coming into this year, you'd have to say he was one of the most composed quarterbacks with the ability to make the plays that he did in that opener against Virginia Tech. Down late, needed a touchdown, out of timeouts, methodically just took his time, made great decisions, didn't rush anything. 3 completions, he gets a little personal foul, a little help here to Pettis, and then this is the big play. Just a little bit over a minute to go. Look how calm he is with his decision-making. Puts the ball where only Pettis could make the play. They get the big touchdown. And tonight, with all the hype surrounding this game, I think his composure will be very key, and also his ability off play-action passes to get the ball thrown downfield vertically.
And what a set of brothers start for Oregon State.
Yeah, Rodgers, number 1, the running back, and James Rodgers, number 8, who's probably their best threat on the outside. He has great ability to get downfield. And I think tonight, with a young quarterback in Ryan Katz, who you'll see, I think the key for Oregon State will be their ability to get the ball to James Rodgers first. They've got to be able to throw the ball to then go back to the strength of their team, and that's Rodgers and his ability to run the football. But tonight for Oregon State, it's passing the football to set up the run.
And the Boise State Broncos pour out of the tunnel. The Oregon State Beavers. Here at Boise, they even choreograph the crowd. Those are not placards. In those different sections, they're wearing the different colors as you look down on a sold-out Bronco Stadium. The weather is a story here tonight. 89 degrees at kickoff. Light breeze and clear, but it is warm for this September night in Boise, Idaho. Now, Mike Riley just won the coin toss, and he will receive. He wants to go on the attack early in this game. And on the other side, a man who has never lost on the blue as a head coach. Chris Peterson, 26-0. So this crowd is all revved up. Pull up your favorite chair, get your favorite beverage, come on in and sit down and measure these Broncos. How good are they? Bronzman out of the end zone, coming to the 20-yard line, and we will be taking a look at a 6'1", 209-pound quarterback, Herbie, from Santa Monica, California, Ryan Katz.
Yeah, Katz has a big arm, very mobile, great athlete, still kind of settling in, making his 3rd career start, taking over for Sean Canfield this year at Oregon State. And Brent, I think there's so much upside. It's just a matter of him getting more and more reps and playing in these kind of atmospheres until he's able to settle down. But tonight, a big thing for him will be just trying to be able to make good decisions and not turn the football over, especially early in this game.
There's the fly sweep motion, and going through is James. They're going to fire it to him on first down in the flat, and he picks up about 3 yards as we check out the Beaver offense here tonight. The skill players. Herbie's already talked about the Rodgers brothers. Now, they are not twins. James is a year older, and he's the senior. Keep an eye, though, on Jordan Bishop. He's a track star behind this offensive line. Michael Phillip will draw the start tonight at left tackle instead of Wilder McAndrews. And here we go with second down and 7. James goes out far to the right. Play fake. Fumble. Katz recovers it. Hit by Jamar Taylor on the corner blitz.
Brent, what a great job of bringing the pressure here and sneaking right here. One thing about Halahune, who's a tight end, that's a tough block for him, especially with the speed of Taylor coming off the edge there. They had James Rodgers one-on-one. Katz held on to the ball just a little bit too long, and a great call by Kwiatkowski, the defensive coordinator by Boise there on a second down.
Need 15. Katz can't find a man open, and he'll go down at the 9-yard line. That defensive front, Billy Wynn and Shea McClellan, 2 big-timers. Billy Wynn, number 90, is as good as any defensive lineman out in the West.
Great indication of the speed of that front four, Brent. You talked about Billy Wynn, and it's really the entire group that we saw against Virginia Tech consistently getting pressure that night on Tyrod Taylor. They're off to a good start tonight here against Oregon State.
So Johnny Hecker is a high school quarterback. He'll punt it. Titus Young, one of the dangerous wide receivers, is also a big-time return man, and he waits on the sideline and out of bounds, but excellent field position for the Broncos with their first series. So winning the toss and electing to receive, a gamble that did not pay off. And now the junior from Prosser, Washington, which is about 300 miles from Boise, Kellen Moore, will bring the offense out.
28-1, 16-0 as far as playing in this stadium. What he can do, Brent, is he just brings that composure and an ability to tack downfield. Probably the area that this offense has improved the most from last year to this year.
The window dressing on the formation. Shift the strength. Doug Martin, a hard-running tailback, will start, and Kellen changes up. He'll drop back into the gun, and he'll put it up on first down. Throws in underneath, and stepping out for the first down is Tyler Shoemaker, a junior from nearby Meridian, Idaho.
Keep talking about his composure, Brent, but really the decision-making that goes along with his composure, the accuracy, making that check, as you said, seeing the coverage that he wanted, and knowing as he got the snap exactly where he wanted to go with the football by the time he received a snap from the center. DJ Harper, number 6, checks in as a tailback, and play action from under center, and they throw back incomplete. They wanted Harper slipping out of the backfield. Let's take a look at this offense, and it is a dangerous one. These are the weapons. They will use 3 running backs, but 2 fine wide receivers from California, Pettis and Young. Tyler Shoemaker made a catch earlier. There's the offensive line. Their 5 best offensive linemen. Then they find places for them to play. Thomas Bird, they tell us, has done a great job as a center, junior from California. Second and 10. Harper picks up the rush man, and there is Titus Young being knocked out of bounds as we take a look at the Beaver defense. Mark Banker, the defensive coordinator, and he knows what he's up against here tonight. Paya, number 54, could be an All-American defensive lineman. You want to keep an eye on him in the middle. These are the fellows who have to grow up here tonight. They have got to contain the outside. They didn't do a good job against TCU in that area. Playmaker back there is Lance Mitchell, junior from Pasadena. And now Doug Martin is back on 3rd and 3. He's a hard running back. Play fake. They're going to keep it in the air. Throw to him for the first down. You can see how hard he is to bring down. And on their first possession,
Boise State threatening.
Brent, you've talked a couple times about the window dressing and the pre-snap movement and into play action. And I'll tell you what it does is it creates confusion. And that time, Brandon Harden, the corner, got caught up that time, keeping his eyes in the backfield. And that's what the coaches told us from Oregon State. The importance about having discipline and being able to read your keys and keep you in position to make plays. That time they lost Martin coming out of the backfield.
16 yards to Martin. And Moore has thrown for 33. Stumbles coming back. Regains his balance. Fires end zone. Incomplete. Penalty. Pettis was fouled by James Dockery.
That's interference on the defense, number 2. Automatic first down, the 2-yard line. First down.
I think Dockery's saying that this is a pretty good play. Let's take a close look. This slant, something that Pettis likes to do. Dockery comes in there, and you can see actually the right hand, not just so much up on the shoulder, but on the right hip of Pettis, preventing him from being able to reach out there. He definitely pulled him back towards him. Made a good play with the left hand, but the right hand definitely pulled him in.
He's the taller of the race receivers, and Kellen's going to flip it to him, and he's going to throw on the end around. Touchdown! And there is the trickeration. Tommy Gallarda, the tight end, on the receiving end as they bring Austin Pettis around, and he throws a touchdown pass.
He's lined up in the right side, and Pettis, Brent, as you said, gets so much attention for his ability to catch the ball, but he's a tremendous athlete. He's actually the holder for the field goals and the extra points. Does a very good job. As soon as he handled the football, he knew that he had his man, and he just floated it up into the corner for that touchdown.
Bronsman tacks on the extra point. So Austin Pettis throws for a touchdown. He didn't play much last week. Coach's decision. Come on back and we'll show you why he was in Peterson's doghouse. A view down on the famed blue turf. About 35,000 capacity here in Boise, Idaho. The Broncos have jumped ahead. So we've seen Austin Pettis against Virginia Tech catch a pair, block a punt. Now he has thrown for a touchdown, and here comes James Rodgers trying to get field position. He's upended on the 26-yard line. First and 10, right straight ahead, and there are some big holes in the middle with this Lennon call. The center is a senior from Olympia, Washington. He, Burke Ellis, and Grant Johnson, they're blowing some big holes open down there.
And Brett, you talked about what the fly sweep can do with James Rodgers. Just by him going in motion, and as fast as he accelerates, they hand it to him so often. It's enough to make the linebackers and the defensive ends on the backside respect that part of the offense, and it can open up some seams if you can block the guys on the inside of the defensive line of Boise State.
And Herbie, folks saw Johnson with that seal-off block with the line shifting, and this time Boise State equal to the task against Quiz, and that's Chase Baker, defensive lineman. Well, Herbie, when you take a look at the rankings, and remember they have played, well, TCU is a ranked team. Louisville, they've been in the arena with two of them, but they are way down in the rankings.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is still breaking in a young quarterback in Ryan Katz. And once they become more balanced and he starts to become more of a threat in throwing the ball, that'll have a tendency to open up the running game, and really the entire offense can get more in rhythm.
Boise rushes 4. Katz with the big arm, deflected, incomplete. I thought it was a little bit behind the target that time. Halahuni, and that's Joe Halahuni.
And it's a little thing, but Brent, just by a foot to just behind to the backside, he's got to step on him. If he throws that in front and leads Halahuni, he's got a chance at least to make a play. But this is part of being a young quarterback right now. Just by missing him, just by a yard back to the backside, instead of having a first down, now it's 3rd and 10.
Katz in a foot race. Can't find anybody, and he will step out of bounds near the line of scrimmage. One of the Beavers asking for the yellow to come flying, but Hunter White was the defensive back on that side. And so the Beavers cross midfield, but they are forced to punt it away. And here comes Johnny Hecker again. And that means that the ever dangerous Titus Young will go back deep.
Johnny Hecker had a great fake punt in their opener against TCU in a similar position of the field. He is a former high school quarterback and can throw the football.
Caught and back into the field of play. Beautiful special teams coverage. Just inside the 1-yard line, and what a job number 14 Poyer does. A 47-yard punt. The Owyhee River, about an hour out of here, and the average brown 20-inch, and that head guide there, Dan Bovenkamp, has been fly fishing that river since 1985. It's a great play action by Kellen Moore. Incomplete, out of bounds. And third member of our team, Aaron Andrews, is here. And Aaron, what was pregame like with Boise State?
Well, with 5 minutes left in that Alabama-Arkansas game, Brent, both teams were out on the field practicing. Well, the Broncos, not a lot of them were out on the field. Actually, I caught up with them after Alabama was able to pull off that win in Fayetteville. And I asked Kellen Moore, hey, did you have the Arkansas game on? He smiled very big and said, no, what happened? Chris Peterson did tell me, yes, they were watching, and it doesn't matter who won. Who do you guys believe?
I think they were pretty dialed in.
DJ Harper, the speed back, is back in. Option to Harper. Got a piece of the corner, but couldn't do much because of Lance Mitchell, the 6'2", 207-pound junior.
Sets up another third down, and you can see 116th in the country, 56% of the time. Their opponent is converting, and a lot of those, Brent, if you look back and think of the film and what we saw with Andy Dalton, sometimes quarterback scrambles from Dalton, sometimes just having the chance at 3rd and 3 to be able to scramble and make a play. Andy Froman from Louisville making plays with his feet. So I don't think Kellen Moore has that kind of threat on 3rd down, but they are 3 for 3 so far tonight.
Needs 8 here. Gets it off, incomplete. Forced to punt.
Now they got some pressure on him there, but that was a matchup that Kellen Moore will take every single time with Pettis matched up against Cameron Collins, a linebacker. But give credit to the guys up front, because Paya, 54, got in there. The experienced Gabe Miller, the speed of the front four from Oregon State that time, got to Kellen Moore just in time before he was able to find that matchup with Pettis against Cameron Collins.
Now we're going to see the all-purpose wonder of the Beavers. James Rodgers is standing just on the other side of the 50. Kyle Brontzman. Try to corral him at number 8. Going to bring it across the field. Looking for a lane. Got one. Needs a block. Cuts inside. Needs one more. Headed for the end zone. What a return. Touchdown. 53 yards. Folks, he's magical on the return.
This is what can happen with one of the best return men in the country. Brent, you were calling it and saying he just needs a crease. Just somebody give him a crease. He's able to find it, and then for patience down the sideline, allowing the convoy to have enough time to get in front of him. He picks a couple blocks at about the 20-yard line up and into the end zone, and that's what you needed from Oregon State early in this game to change the complexion around playing on the road in this hostile environment.
Justin Cahoon adds the extra point. Call your friends. Oregon State does not fear the blue. They are here to stay. Look at his total yardage. And now, here comes Boise, and it will be Titus Young. Slips on the brand new carpet this year, and he is out of bounds on the far side. Is DJ Harper in the backfield, and they'll try to run the ball a little bit right into the arms of Reuben Robinson, pushing the Mike linebacker or the middle man back a little bit.
As much as Boise State has come out in this game and thrown a lot of the time with Kellen Moore off play action, you know, this entire offense is predicated upon being physical up front with an experienced offensive line, and then the running of Doug Martin and DJ Harper, and then they typically like to mix in some double moves to the play action and get the ball thrown downfield, but it's all based off being physical up front.
2nd and 2, Harper picks up the first down, and he slips too. Could wind up being a story on a brand new turf, and he's limping a little bit. He once blew out a knee and he was sidelined, and he goes back over there for a little attention right now.
Right towards the end there, you always worry about that, whether it's blue turf or green turf. Oh boy, those are scary. Luckily he's able to get off the field, and hopefully he'll be able to return.
Keep an eye on that story. Martin checks back in. They also have a third back in Jeremy Avery. Throwing, and a beautiful catch by Young. And how about that throw, Herbie?
Boy, that is an amazing throw right over the shoulder of his receiver, Titus Young, and he got a matchup that he loved, Jordan Poyer, who's a safety in a corner all by himself on an island. This is going to be one of the key matchups tonight. Can Oregon State, when they bring pressure, hold up in one-on-one coverage? And he gets just enough time. He gives a little shoulder fake to try to keep the safety to the middle of the field, and he just lays it right over the shoulder of Titus Young. Perfect throw.
How about cool hand Kellen? He is hard to sack, knows how to step away from pressure.
No doubt.
He's tough to deal with. And this presentation of Saturday Night Football presented by Southwest Airlines returns after this message and a word from our ABC stations. As we start the second quarter, deadlocked at 7 with Kirk Herbstreit and Aaron Andrews. I'm Brent Musburger. I know some of you are just getting home from your games. Oregon State won the flip here where we are, and they had to punt it away. And Boise State marched right down for the first touchdown of the game. Then James Rodgers electrified this crowd with a 54-yard punt return touchdown. Now the 9th play of this drive is coming up, and here comes Boise State trying to haul it in, and the running back is powerful Doug Martin. He is smacked.
Man, they're playing out there. I mean, Oregon State, considering the way this game is gone, could be down by a lot more, but they're showing a lot of fight. Remember, their theme is about playing and kind of taking the fight to Boise State. And they may give up a touchdown here, but I'll tell you what, they're being a lot more physical in this game than anything that they've shown in their first 2 games against TCU and Louisville. Now you got to watch the play action here. Fake it up the middle to Martin, throw to the backside, back line to the tight end.
There's the play action. Kellen comes up, looking receiver, drops it off, incomplete. And Dan Paul, the fullback, was looking for a flag, and they picked him up coming out of the backfield. Brandon Harden was on top of him.
The backside tight end is actually right here. He's going to try to get to the back line, and that's one of the things that Kellen Moore does. Typically waits his time and eventually likes to find the man that eventually has a chance to get open. Efall is covered, flat out covered, so he tries to go to the fullback in the flat Paul. Nobody there. He has to just throw it away.
Threw a couple of touchdown passes to Paul with this play, and now Joe Southwick checks in. He's a runner. Here he comes, and he's throwing for a loss. A beautiful tackle by Brennan Olander, the senior from Grants Pass, Oregon. One time a walk-on. He didn't walk on this play.
No, he's got great quickness and is able to fight through there. Again, keep talking about this front four and everything that they have an ability to do, and that's all about speed, quickness, and acceleration. It's a pretty athletic quarterback in there trying to run away from him, and he chased him down from the backside.
So they will settle for a Bronzman field goal from the left hash. This has been his bugaboo. 21 yards on its way, and he nails that one. Boise State leads, but they had to settle for a field goal. Remember, they were first and goal at the 2-yard line. They kicked it away from Rodgers. Jordan Poyer. And he returns it to the 28-yard line. Young Ryan Katz He's only 1 of 2 here tonight, trying to rally this Beaver offense. Puts it in the hands of Quiz, and he is tripped up down to the 31-yard line. Boy, that defensive front, Herbie, underrated as far as Boise State is concerned. And Brian Hout, who has moved permanently to Mike linebacker, he was a defensive end earlier this year, and now he's back at Mike, and he makes a stop. Young man's out of Coeur d'Alene up in northern Idaho. Beautiful part of the world. 2nd down and 6. There from the Wildcat. The direct handoff to James. And James Rodgers is thrown down at the 1st down marker.
Hand it off to James Rodgers. Get a good block by brother Quiz Rodgers. Enough of a seam there to be able to pick up that 1st down, and this is that fly sweep. There's Quiz Rodgers helping his brother out. Picks up a big block against Winston Venable, the leading tackler for Boise State. And that's all you need. Just cut him down and give James Rodgers enough room, as we saw in that punt return, to accelerate upfield in a hurry. Love how Oregon State's taking the game out of Ryan Katz's hands, just trying to let him settle in. Now I think he settles in. Now you got to go back to him throwing the football some.
Rodgers sidesteps, picked up no more than a yard on that play. And that was Hout again, Byron Hout.
Talked about Danny Langsdorff, and he and Mike Riley both telling us last night that when we really get our offense going, he's off to the right there with the hat pulled down tight, but when we really get our offense going, it's not just balance, but it's run the football, mix in the play action pass, little cat and mouse game, try to keep the defense off balance. But for the most part, outside of that big 3rd down pass, most part it's been the running game here on this drive.
His father, Ed, is a scout for the San Diego Chargers. Worked with Mike Riley when Mike was the head coach of the Chargers, and Ed is here tonight. 2nd down and 9. Play action, Cat's going to go with that deep arm toward the end zone. Incomplete. Aaron Nichols, the intended receiver, he was sandwiched down there going into the end zone. You could see Johnson saying, no way, not on my watch.
No shot.
Don't bring that stuff in here on me.
Well, Nichols and Wheaton, who we've already seen, and Jordan Bishop, Joe Halahouni. You have to help me out with that one. Halahouni. 87. These guys have to be able to step up and take some of the pressure off the Rodgers brothers, because defense is clearly key in on number 1 and number 8, and occasionally you need somebody else to be able to take the pressure off by making some plays.
Want to set the screen, in trouble. Quiz Rodgers was in the neighborhood, and there is McClellan. He played for a very small high school, very close to here, and was an all-everything. Linebacker, running back. Now he's a fine defensive end.
I think this is a good job here by Boise State, being able to sniff this out right away. Wynn, who's a defensive tackle, they moved him in a 3rd and long situation out to the end, and he does a good job of remembering the scouting report and sniffing out Quiz Rodgers, so he didn't even have a chance to catch that screen.
Hecker with Young, and remember, he let a punt go that was downed inside the 5. Young races over, fields this one on the 16 and cuts back. He's short of the 20-yard line, but he wasn't going to let that one bounce toward the end zone. Learned his lesson last time, so we'll take a break. The Battle of the Blue. Boise State leads Oregon State by a field goal. Good news for the Broncos. DJ Harper is back on the field. Here's Kellen Moore, the young man from Prosser, Washington. Firing complete. And I can hear the applause from Prosser. About 5 hours and 16 minutes if you drive from here is where Kellen Moore grew up. And the Princess Theater in downtown Prosser shows his games on the big screen. So nice to have all you folks with us from Prosser, and I know you are really fond of number 11.
How cool is that?
Isn't that great?
That's from tonight. I mean, that is good. I think they got a kick out of how we get a little Princess Theater, got a little love there.
Exactly. Play action, and it going, shaken free. First man could not bring him down. Fires complete, and that's Austin Pettis. But how about swept away. And let's hear it up in Prosser. Kellen Moore shook the defender Brandon Harden, who was coming with a blitz.
He comes with a blitz right off of the defense, off the edge there. Really catches Moore, I think, in the offense off guard. But a great job by Kellen Moore, not just escaping and showing some strength to get away from Harden, but what I love to see is he focuses downfield, sets his feet quickly, and then throws an accurate ball downfield to where only his guy can make the catch.
26-yard gain. Boise State back at midfield, leading it by 3. Down the sideline and caught one-handed by Titus Young.
Brent, the multiple wide receiver formations are starting to expose Oregon State in space, and Harden is a big physical corner at 6'2", 215. He's actually in pretty good position, much like earlier Jordan Poyer was. But the ball placement, which was a big emphasis of this quarterback Kellen Moore coming back this year, put it right where only his man can make that one-handed grab.
Young with 4 catches for 87 yards. Moore has thrown already for 168 yards. And he's looking for more. Touchdown! Austin Pettis caught it going in. And Austin Pettis has just scored his 4th touchdown as a receiver. Remember, he also threw a touchdown pass earlier tonight.
And Brent, that's Oregon. That is Boise State's offense in a nutshell. 4 plays, 81 yards, and Kellen Moore putting on a clinic on how to distribute the football to different receivers and the accuracy to go along with it. How about that throw right there to Austin Pettis?
Kyle Brontzman knocks it through. It's Saturday night on the blue carpet, and the Broncos are rolling. Trevor Harmon kicking off. They rest Kyle Brontzman. He kicks off, punts, kicks extra points. Fielded now by Poyer as they continue to kick away from Rodgers. Poyer with an alley. Cuts back, and he is near midfield. Fire complete right into the middle, and that was Halahouni, Herbie.
Halahouni lined up as a tight end here and just comes right down the seam of this defense right towards you at home. And when you do this, you got to be able to throw it again on a line. And that's the second time we've seen tonight Ryan Katz and his arm strength, where he makes a quick decision, he locks in on who he wants to make the throw to, but he has the arm strength to be able to throw it in there with the velocity where his guy makes the catch, and then he gets down and gets ready to get hit.
We saw the replay. Jamar Taylor unloaded on him. 1st down and 10. Fake to the outside and back with Quiz. Certainly not giving up on the running game here.
No, they're not, and I think you're starting to see that balance. I think, that, again, that offensive line's getting a push, but I think that the thing that Oregon State's going to have to try to avoid are these 3rd down and long situations. Because they've struggled, I don't think they have the confidence coming into this game, and it's one of those things that they have to be able to get in those 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 5 situations. They're 1 of 4 tonight on 3rd down. Good read by the middle linebacker. We talked a lot about Hout and how he plays against the run at that Mike linebacker. Daryl Acree comes in this time also. You can see first the defensive lineman, Billy Wynn, gets a hand on it. The ball starts to flutter, and then Acree also got a hand on it and knocked it down. That time Katz trying to force it into some tight coverage.
Justin Cahoot. A 41-yarder. Got it. Pulled back to within 7. Oregon State hanging in Boise. comes Young, coming out from the corner. And he is brought down. Here's Doug Martin. He'll start it off on first down, and what a powerful looking running back. Gives him second and short.
He's a great young back for fans to watch and for young players to emulate. I mean, think about him growing up. He's 5'9" and about 212 pounds. I say a young back, he's a junior, but I love to see. We went to practice yesterday. He's just one of these guys that he just has one speed. Everything that he does at full speed. And he's been questioned his whole life. Does he have the size, the durability, the speed? And all he does is outwork everybody else to get his opportunity. And he runs with passion.
And swinging. First and 10. Matt Kaiserman, a sophomore running back.
Snuck one in on us there. But, you know, the one thing that Moore's been able to do, the adjustment, I think, that Brian Harson's made, the offensive coordinator, multiple wide receivers, and then getting one-on-one opportunities to try to pick on the safeties and the corners. There's been some good coverage, but the accuracy of Kellen Moore has been the difference tonight on the big plays. In fact, they're 5 of 6 on pass plays of 15 yards or more. So very accurate downfield tonight.
Martin slips back onto the field. And they'll swing pass to him. Had a wall, and he's out to the 46 for a first down. And Robert, Ohio State figures to stay number 2, right behind Alabama. Alabama pulled one out against Arkansas. And here's your number 3 team in the nation, Boise State. And I know some of the coaches have returned home from their games, and they've got the television turned on, and they're just taking a look at this Boise State team. Who are these guys, and how good are they? You know, the one victory has been devalued a little bit, everybody says, because Virginia Tech the next week lost to James Madison. But sometimes those FCS schools can fool you a little bit. Just ask those Michigan fellows about Appalachian State that night. And Montana State pushed Washington State to the wall earlier this year in the 4th quarter. So there's some really good football players in the FCS. Play action now by Kellen Moore. Moore going downfield. Oh, wide open. He'll back in. Titus Young. 49, and folks, that's too easy.
Brian Harden is stating his case as a corner, saying that he stepped out of bounds. I think he was forced out of bounds. Again, Harden isolated one-on-one, a little out and go. He goes out of bounds, but he works his way back onto the field. Harden almost gave up on the play, and you can see him pointing there. But Titus Young got pushed out of bounds by Harden on that out cut, a little out and up. And Harden just trying to state his case, but clearly Titus Young was forced out of bounds.
Here's Kyle Bronzman. Tacks on the extra point. Let's go down now to Aaron Andrews with the coach.
Brent, thanks so much. Coach, Oregon State, 1 of 6 on 3rd down. What's been key in stopping them?
Well, we've been getting a little bit of pressure there, making them throw it. I think the backers are getting in throwing lanes and doing a good job there. Where we're hurting ourselves is field position on special teams. We got to take care of that.
How do you take care of it?
We got to get better kicks to start with. And then once we do get a good kick, we got to get the coverage down there. It's just a little bit of everything there.
All right, Coach, thanks.
Thank you.
Brent.
All right, Aaron. And a reminder to everybody now, some big stories this afternoon, so stay tuned for the Northwestern Mutual Halftime Report with John Saunders and Jesse Palmer coming at you right after this message. Well, the number 3 team in the nation with a 2-touchdown lead as we prepare to start the second half. And with Kirk Herbstreit and Aaron Andrews, I'm Brent Musburger. We welcome you back. And here comes Young. Sprinting and out of bounds at the 23-yard line. Titus Young in our Pacific Life game summary. Kellen Moore is so hard to bring down. coaches told us from Oregon State, you just can't get him on the ground, and that has been the case here tonight. And his two favorite targets both are seniors, and he has gone to them frequently here.
Oh, what a night for Titus Young. The one-handed catch, the big touchdown down the left sideline. 136 yards in the first half alone.
And Pettis threw for a touchdown, don't forget. On 1st and 10, bring it to Martin. And he picks up 8 yards on 1st down.
Really important for Oregon State to come out of the gate swinging, because, as you know, Boise State is a 4-quarter team, and they play with the same intensity in the 3rd and 4th quarter as they do. There aren't any peaks and valleys when you play Boise, and Oregon State can't afford to take one series off, or this game could get out of hand in a hurry.
2nd down and 10. Sets the screen. And nothing doing. It was read beautifully. There is a story, Herbie. You made a good point about how quickly they get the playoff. Now, you see that wristband? Those are numbers, and they signal it in because some of the plays at Boise State are very wordy. One obviously is hot. And I think it's pretty easy to figure out which one is calling the play over there. But at any rate, that's why Oregon State only uses one. But then he looks down at the number, and he quickly is able to set the play in the huddle.
Absolutely, and it moves quickly. And right now, they're a little bit slower tempo with a 14-point lead. But earlier in this game, it was moving fast, trying to get up to that line and catch Oregon State out of position.
Again, stepping away from trouble, coming up, and a one-hopper incomplete.
And you always hear coaches talking about pocket presence. And when you throw 39 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, you don't get sacked very often. You give the line some credit. But just a little thing like that, that isn't necessarily tremendous athletic ability. That's just an awareness, stepping up away from the defender, Olander, and in a position where you can at least have a chance to make an accurate throw.
If you just joined us, by far the most exciting play of the night was the lone Oregon State touchdown. James Rodgers returned a punt 54 yards for the score. And he is back deep now to field this punt. And remember what the coach said to Aaron Andrews? Doesn't like the exchange of field position. Need better kicks. So they're going to run it over to the right. And they're just going to get it off, kick it away from him. And that'll set it down inside the 20. So the coach gets his wish as Kellen is on the phone talking upstairs. Boise State, the number 3 team in the nation, leads it by 2 touchdowns. Sophomore quarterback Ryan Katz brings Oregon State to the line here for their first series in this second half. Down 2 touchdowns, and they have been bottled up by an underrated Boise State defense. Quiz turns loose from one man, but not the second. And let's go down to Aaron Andrews. Aaron, coach can't be happy about his offense.
Well, Coach Riley always speaking with a smile despite how far he's down in the game. But he did say he wants his team to execute, make plays, be patient here. His evaluation for his quarterback, Ryan Katz, in the first half, Brent, he says he just needs to take a deep breath. He said he's going to go back and watch film on this game and say, gosh, I had some guys wide open. But he said he's very excited for this second half. Feels like it could go the Beavers' way. We'll have to see.
Now here is Katz facing a 2nd and 9. Back in the pocket. There's that deep strike arm, and it is complete to Jordan Bishop, the track man, number 23, and that was a fine throw.
Great throw. There's that strong arm again, and this is a route because it's a levels route that takes a lot of time to be able to develop. One receiver just clears out a defender. Another receiver is down underneath. You could see the receiver just clearing out to give the room there for this time Bishop to be able to operate. Aaron Nichols doing a good job of taking the safety deep and giving him an opening, and Ryan Katz, when he has time to throw, steps in and fires that ball.
27 yards. And now they jump into the Wildcat. And one brother hands it off to James. And Quiz is throwing down, and they thought that should have been flagged for a personal foul over here on the sideline.
I think they wanted either a face mask or a horse collar, one or the other. Oregon State pretty animated on the sideline. Grabs the side of his helmet, grabs a hold of the back of the jersey, and Oregon State, good reason to be upset.
Second and 10. Now Cats will go back up under center. Alex Leninko, senior from Olympia. Under fire, throws complete. And that's to James Rodgers, number 8, and another good throw. So Cats has a strong arm. There is no question about that, and he's delivered 2 good throws here.
We were talking about Kellen Moore in the NFL, and always, you want to see if guys have that NFL arm. Well, there's no question about Ryan Katz. I think he can make any throw on this field, and when these guys are giving him enough time to be able to get back, be in rhythm, and step and make a throw, I tell you, this guy he's got all the goods.
You can see how woeful they've been on 3rd down. Here's another one. Katz slips the first one, but not the second. Ran back into more trouble as he scrambled away. And there is a penalty flag.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, taunting number 40 on the defense. 15 yards. We will look to see if it is first down.
That is Tyrone Crawford, and that will incur the wrath of Chris Peterson. That's the sort of thing that he does not tolerate.
Not at all. And Tevis, the linebacker, is going to come around and get the pressure. Confusion on the offensive line. You can see how they weren't able to slide over, and it looked like Burke Ellis, the right guard, that wasn't able to slide and pick him up. But what a break for Oregon State, not converting on 3rd down. And I don't know if there was some words
Crawford
exchanged.
No question on that replay.
Yeah.
He was bent over and looking down, Herbie.
Yes, sir.
And he was bellowing at him. Won't like that. No way.
That's how you get off the field in Boise.
Absolutely. 1st and 10. Here comes Quiz Rodgers, slicing and dicing.
Awfully tough to get yards down when you bring tight ends in, and it's a real tight formation against Boise State. Much easier down in this red zone, of course, to spread them out with receivers and try to find Quiz a little bit of a seam or some running room. But when you line up with a kind of a bunch formation, a goal line formation, you're kind of running uphill against these blue jerseys.
Steps away, takes off with that athletic ability across the 5, but that'll bring up the 3rd down, and they can get a first down without scoring here. And down 2 touchdowns, you would think that Mike Riley and the coaching staff here will go 4 downs in this situation to get the first down of the touchdown.
Brent, remember when you mentioned Austin Pettis? He sat out after a touchdown? How about Winston Venable, your leader on defense, makes a mistake? Late hit, leading with your head, big play, crucial point in the game, sit on the sideline.
No nonsense. Here's your power look. Quiz shakes free, touchdown. They had him. Iloka was there, and they could not bring him down, and James Rodgers' brother goes into the end zone, and it is game on the blue turf once again.
All of a sudden, Oregon State has a little bit of confidence here in this second half. Here's the leg drive and the power of Jacquizz Rodgers. Last year he was quick, he was slippery, but I think you're seeing him break away from tackles, arm tackles, a lot more this year with that added 10 pounds. He is a strong, strong young man.
Okay, Hoods is a little shaky. He missed a field goal, and he was pulling that extra point all the way, but it went across. What kept that drive alive? Those 2 defensive penalties. Coach Peterson unhappy about that. Well, there is the most sought-after trophy in all of college athletics, the Coach's Trophy, presented by Dr. Pepper to the winner of the BCS championship. Wouldn't Boise State love to get its hands on that? Oh, yes. Sitting number 3. Alabama surviving. They'll stay number 1. Ohio State rolling. And here's the kickoff, and Titus Young takes it out of the end zone. Powerful return man. And a penalty flag comes flying. Is this still another mistake on Boise State here tonight? All right, Robert, and here we get a 1-touchdown game. Toss play for Boise State to Martin. And Martin breaks the tackle and breaks free. Crosses midfield. Still on his feet. Can't bring him down. Battling to the 25. What a powerful running back that young man is.
Well, Brent, we've been talking about him all night, and this will give you an idea how physical he really can be in the open field when he has a chance to run downhill. Look at him. Look at this safety, Lance Mitchell. Mitchell doesn't do a very good job, but it was good contact, but he didn't wrap up. And against Doug Martin, if you don't wrap up, his leg strength will allow him to bounce off. Like he ran out of bounds there, didn't he?
It was very close. That is very close.
Yeah, he definitely.
Too late now. Matt Kaiserman back in as the running back. Second time we've seen him tonight. And that's Dwight Roberson making the defensive play.
That almost had the look to it like he actually wanted to throw that football.
Might be why he's been in there.
Yeah, Kaiserman kind of, that might be a play they're setting up to come back to later. And I actually happened to watch Kellen Moore as he handed it off, and what happened to him on the backside. He was all alone. Nobody followed him back to the backside. Maybe they come back to that play later on a throwback to Kellen Moore.
Martin checks back in as the running back. Kellen fires middle. Touchdown. He hits Tyler Shoemaker, the junior from nearby Meridian, Idaho. Here's Brotzman. And it's a 2-touchdown advantage for Boise State again.
Boise State has done a great job with multiple receivers of getting matchups one-on-one against safeties. This time it's Lance Mitchell trying to stay with Shoemaker, and a safety cannot stay with a wide receiver in one-on-one coverage. Mitchell doesn't have any chance to be able to stay with him in space like that, and especially with Kellen Moore. First touchdown pass, by the way, he's thrown all year where he did not have play action. He was able to get into rhythm back in the pocket and threw that football perfectly. But pitch and catch for Boise State with their receivers matched up one-on-one against the Oregon State safeties.
And there's Poirier coming out. Poirier with a seam, and he slips down at the 28. So here they are bringing Wheaton in the James Rodgers role right now. The young man has great speed. We don't know how sturdy he is as Brandon Thompson makes the play.
The angles that this defense take and the way they swarm to the football. You know, defenses work on this in practice all the time on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and they get tired of doing it. Then all of a sudden you turn on the game film and you find out if they actually do it in a game. And Boise State's one of these defenses that every time they've got guys swarming to the football, taking great pursuit angles.
I'm going to be very surprised if Coach lets Tommy Smith, number 33, come back in the game after that incident. Catch goes down low. Wheaton goes to the ground to get it, and it's ruled incomplete that he trapped the ball.
It looked like he got his hands under it, but maybe after the ball actually got to him, maybe it fell through. It's close enough to take another look, I would think. Or not.
Third and 10. Incomplete. Clearly that one. Daryl Catchings, the target.
I think that time Ryan Katz just felt the pressure closing in on him. His line didn't give him much of a chance. And again, third down has just been a nightmare all year long for Oregon State. They've caught a couple breaks on their last drive where there are penalties against Oregon State. But again, there's pressure. They brought the blitz from the corner. Ooh. Gavins takes a big hit right when he followed through on that football.
Oh, Gavins went right over the top, Herbie, and just raked him. That was accidental, obviously, but he really got into him with his feet. Young bobbles it, free ball. Oregon State's got it. It'd be down right there. So Rashad Reynolds, a corner from Los Angeles, California, comes up with the loose football.
Special teams have been big tonight for Oregon State. Reynolds comes up here, gives Oregon State the football back just when it looked like Boise State might be taking complete control of the game. Another costly mistake here. Remember the big return by James Rodgers. There have been some plays where Oregon State's being dominated if you look at the offensive numbers, but there's little areas where they've been able to hang around. Now let's see if they can capitalize on this chance.
Short-handed without James Rodgers. Out for the rest of the game. They send 3 receivers to the right. It's in Ryan Katz's hands. Can he make plays down the stretch? Here comes Quiz. No more than a yard into the teeth of that defense. Do they win again?
Glad you said that the game falls into the hands of Ryan Katz, because even with James Rodgers sitting there on the sideline for the rest of this game, it's still going to come down to Ryan Katz's ability to make some of those throws that we saw him make earlier. Quiz Rodgers is not going to be able to do this alone running the football. Katz has got to make some throws down the field to stretch Boise's defense.
Katz, good athlete, runs away from the pressure, fires back to the middle. Got it! Stumbling, fumbling, touchdown Oregon State. Joe Halahuni falls on the ball in the end zone, and the Beavers are back again as Daryl Catchings caught it and turned it loose.
Rumbling, fumbling, stumbling. Catchings makes the catch, but Teron Johnson, he could have called a fair catch for the interception there. He mistimed his jump, and the ball just sailed right over top of him and fell into the hands of Catchings. It's crazy.
Okay, who tacks on the extra point?
Brent Katz, the athletic ability of Katz has been really, really important on some of the bigger passes. He breaks contain, pressure's coming in, Acree's right in his face, but he makes a mistake. He throws back against his body just up to the middle of that defense. If Teron Johnson's able to time his leap up, look at the football. It's just sailing, hanging up there. Johnson jumps a little bit too early. Give Catchings a lot of credit for making that grab, but then the big hit there that jars the ball loose. And as you said, Halahuni in the right place to pick up that touchdown.
And here is Young. Dangerous, great speed. Close to midfield again. Toss play. Avery likes to run in space, battles for a yard and a tough yard. Oregon State coming alive. Tuimane, one of the Hawaiian youngsters on this Oregon State team.
Yeah, you don't have nearly the toughness when Avery checks into the game. More of a scat back, guy who can take a direct snap and a kind of a wildcat package. Oregon State still hanging tough up front, battling this Boise State offensive front.
So we have come to the end of the third quarter. The money quarter is coming up, and this presentation of Saturday Night Football presented by Southwest Airlines returns after this message and a word from our ABC stations. With Kirk Herbstreit and Aaron Andrews, I'm Brent Musburger, and we welcome you back to the start of the fourth quarter. Boise State leads Oregon State, but only by a touchdown. After that fine return by Titus Young, Kellen Moore, the Boise State quarterback, who's thrown for 3 touchdowns, completes his first pass here to Kyle Efaw. And now, Herbie, take a look at the Pacific Life game summary for us.
Well, James Rodgers kept Oregon State in this game early with a 54-yard punt return and kind of gave them some life, and I think got them to believe that they could come on the road and have a chance. But Kellen Moore has been pretty much unstoppable when he's had time to throw. Very accurate, much of it off of play action. But Ryan Katz, it wasn't the prettiest throw, but somehow, some way, it worked works out. Johnson mistimes his jump. Catchings makes the catch. The big hit here. And then all of a sudden, Hulahini has a chance to fall in it for the touchdown to get him back within 7.
Now on 3rd down, throws for the 1st down, and a fine catch by Shoemaker, who has one of the 3, but hold on, there's a penalty flag.
Personal foul. Number 5 on the defense. 15-yard penalty. Automatic 1st down.
That is Cameron Collins, guilty of pass interference earlier. Now the personal foul, and that is a huge penalty. Coach Riley cannot be happy about this.
Both of these teams in a second half, and it's been mainly with the defenses coming in for an extra hit. And even though it's a gray area right there late there with Collins, you cannot do that when with the game on the line. It costs you 15 yards.
Made the call against both teams now, and there was movement in the line. A handoff. Gabe Miller making the play defensively, and no penalty, so everybody was okay.
Gabe Miller in there.
Looks strange to me.
It did. It looked like there definitely was a little bit of movement. Maybe they didn't quite cross the line, but I did see Tony Wilson, the linebacker. Gabe Miller, you talked about crashing down. Boise State came into this game averaging about 221 yards a game on the ground. Tonight they only have 109. Most of the damage, again, has been by Moore throwing the football when they get their defensive backs isolated one-on-one.
2nd and 9 for Moore. Brings the end around. Young puts it in his hands, and he's short of the 1st down. To Imane. Knocked him out of bounds before he could get the 1st down.
And one way, if you're struggling to get yards in the middle, is you got to get it out on the perimeter. And Martin has not had a chance to get out there. Avery, Harper, when he's been in there, it's been more and more Titus Young on the reverse to try to just get him out to make this Oregon State defense tackle in space. An area that coming into the game was really a problem. They've really struggled in their first 2 weeks, but doing a much better job of pursuing and closing in on these ball carriers at Boise State tonight.
Jeremy Avery and Matt Kaiserman are now in the field. Kaiserman looked like he was going to throw, remember? But it'll be Kellen, and it's deflected, incomplete, and there is a penalty flag.
Penalty is declined. 4th down.
Now that's sort of interesting. That is fascinating, because that's a very makeable field goal he just gave Boise State. This is an interesting decision by Oregon State. Bronzman is on the field. The holder is Austin Pettis, and remember, the wide receiver has already thrown for a touchdown here tonight. But it's only a 7-point lead, so let's see what Chris Peterson wants to respond with. This will be a 33-yard field goal. This is his comfort zone, the right hash. He'll take the points. So Riley wanted it stuck on a 10 rather than gambling and making it 14 if he lost. Timeout. Nobody leaving. Kyle Brutzman returns to the kickoff duties. Poyer. And they send him to that sideline. That is just a good kickoff and a pretty good return. So here comes Ryan Katz. He's 4 of 8 this half for 64 yards. He starts with a draw play. They want to keep Quiz involved. And no more than a yard. Here we are, 2nd down and 9 for Oregon State. Katz off a play fake. A little bit of a confusion, but he completes it for a 1st and 10. And Halahuni makes still another catch. That junior from Graham, Washington, is a good-looking H-back tight end.
Another corner blitz, and this time nobody is out there. And the key there is Quiz Rodgers, the running back, did just enough to pick up Jamar Taylor to give Katz enough time. There was a vacated zone off to the left. Give Katz not only recognition for being able to find the receiver, but also a good throw to give Halahuni a chance to get up there and pick up some big yards for the Beavers.
Here's a play action roll right. Incomplete. Brandon Thompson was the corner with good coverage on that. He's a senior out of Elk Grove, California. Many of the key players on this Boise State team have been recruited from California. They do an outstanding job of identifying talent. They don't recruit 5 stars, but Mike Riley will tell you when they get finished, they produce 5 stars here. Very well coached football team. Now Riley trying to come back. Second and 10. Katz. Pressure from the left. Steps away. Out of bounds. Receiver and the football both out of bounds. If you were with us all game, we had a play in the first half where a receiver was shoved out of bounds, came back in, and scored a touchdown as the defensive back was pointing at the official saying he can't come back in. The college rule is quite clear. You can come back in if you were pushed out, and it was marked by the official when he threw his hat. It was a superb call, and it resulted in a Boise State touchdown, and it was a learning moment for Oregon State. Third down and 10. Here comes Quiz, surrounded, penalty flag, starts back, still dancing.
Holding offense, penalties decline. 4th down.
A little bit out of sync there, these last few plays.
If they're going to have a fake, Herbie, that you mentioned in the first half, they got to do it now. They're down 2 scores. We're inside of 10 minutes. This young man was a high school quarterback. Walk on. He's a punter. As Herbie reported in the first half, he has thrown a completion. Chris Potter, a wide receiver, is on the field. Doesn't hesitate. And the ball is downed. And said it was in. It will come out in the 20 because it's a touchback. NFL, that is legal to knock it back. But here the ball breaks the plane in the college game, and it'll come out on the 20-yard line. Boise, the capital of the state of Idaho, with the lights on tonight. Here's Martin again. As you watch the game on the blue carpet, Gene Blameyer, the athletic director, was his idea. So he was coming home and he went to the president. He said, I've got this crazy idea. I'd like to have a blue football field. I'd like to give us an identity. And the president told him, well, let me think about this for a while. And so Gene would go home and, well, you know what he would do, folks? He would turn on his TV set to a baseball game, and he would turn the tent control button, you know, until the green became blue. And he said, that doesn't look so bad after all. And as you look down on this field, you just have to wonder, what would it look like if it was a green field? And here comes Martin again. And he is stopped short of the first down. And here's what Herbie and I are talking about. There it is, folks. Known as the Inferno. And it's about, what, 10, 15 degrees warmer? There they are. Kicking a field goal. And the Grizz go down to a huge defeat in the Inferno. And here we are. It all began with this field and Gene Blameyer.
I think it works here. I don't know about that.
You're not buying the red yet?
Not buying the red just quite yet.
Third down and 2. You don't think the Buckeyes should go to a red field? Okay.
No.
Run the toss play. And Martin breaks it again. Down to the 20-yard line. Now this is an interesting point in this game.
It is an interesting time, and it is another example where Martin's able to run through 1, 2, 3 tackles and eventually be brought down as they continue to wear down Oregon State.
These are the times that really try Chris Peterson. He's not a guy who likes to run up scores. Likes to win the game and go on to the next game. Would just as soon that the polls and all these debates would go far, far away. But here he is now. He's up 10. He's got 4:16 to go. And you know that some of those coaches who went to bed early without watching the game will see the final score without watching it. And trust me, humans are influenced by the margin of score. And a reminder to stay tuned after this game for your late local news over most of these ABC stations, and over on ESPN. Tune over to SportsCenter for post-game analysis, as well as today's scores and highlights. Inside the red zone here, Herbie.
They get down here, and typically they start to find ways to get the ball to Pettis or their tight ends. But let's see if Chris Peterson, who, they're only up 10. I mean, they're only up 10 with 3.5 to go.
Keeping it on the ground and bringing Young on that end around. What a big all-purpose night he has had. We came in raving about James Rodgers, but it is Young who has turned in the all-purpose night here. And Martin has run for 138. Moore has thrown for 288. But Young has also rushed for 18, and he's caught 136 yards of passes, and he's returned several kickoffs and punts here tonight.
Yeah, he's put on a show tonight. And the first time we saw this team, we came in expecting Titus Young to be the guy, and of course Austin Pettis ended up stealing the show that night against Virginia Tech. But no doubt about it, Titus Young showing us in all of America what he can do.
3rd and 4. Avery came in short of the first down. Now here comes the kicking unit, right?
Brent, prior to that 3rd down, it was Austin Pettis stating his case from the middle of the field, trying to show the coaches what play to call to keep him in, to call a pass play, and he's trying to state his case, and Chris Peterson just said, come off the field, we're running the ball here, and he just kind of looked dejected. But that's who Chris Peterson is.
30-yarder. Now Austin Pettis, who he was talking about, he's the holder. Puts it down for Bronzman, who nails it. Hey, how about that? 2 for 2 from the left hash. Great night for that young man tonight. Let's give him a round of applause, folks. 37-24. Well, here's the kickoff now, and Oregon State will field it. It was the young man. Of course, they're without James Rodgers here tonight, and so Jordan Poyer has been the key guy. Katz is sacked at the 22-yard line. You know, Herbie, you mentioned the conferences and the BCS rankings. Brad Edwards has come up with a formula for ranking. AP poll 50%, of the BCS computers that are going to be used 50%. I want everybody to look long and hard at where he rates the conference that Boise State plays in, okay? Ahead of the ACC and the Big East. I find that very, very interesting to complete in underneath as they move it down the field. And as you look ahead now, as they continue this, and you think about Boise State, they've got to go to Nevada.
Absolutely.
Late, and Nevada hung a 50 on California.
No doubt about it. How about the Mountain West Conference ahead of the WAC?
Exactly. So here they are in their hurry up. Incomplete. Which brings up the point. Don't overlook TCU.
That's the reason I brought it up. TCU often gets forgotten about because Boise beat TCU in last year's Fiesta Bowl. Just looking at that, I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. I mean, the Mountain West Conference this year with BYU playing a freshman quarterback, I don't think they have the...
Utah, don't go to sleep on Utah.
No, Utah's a good team. TCU, I think Air Force is a good team, but after that, it kind of drops off. Meanwhile, the Big East, yikes.
Yes. 4th and 12. There's nothing like blue heaven for Boise State. Venable back in the game. Well, we'll come back and we'll wrap it up. Boise State will win again on the blue. The game day crew will have wrap up on the activities right here from the blue field of Boise State. And the victory formation. Herbie mentioned it, so I want to take a look at the comparative schedules between Boise State and TCU. Now take a look at those two games. TCU has to go into Salt Lake to play Utah. Meanwhile, Boise State has to go to Reno to play Nevada. Now on paper, those are two of the toughest games that those teams have ahead of them. And it is amazing that if Boise State slips TCU could wind up very much in the thick of things for the BCS championship game, Harvey.
And the one thing that I find interesting in every conference is it's one thing to play these teams that you don't always see. But you get into conference play, teams are a little bit more familiar scheming against your offense. And also, that's where upsets are. Remember all those years USC was dominant against everybody? They'd slip up to somebody in conference play. So that still can happen to a lot of teams in these next 7 or 8, 9 weeks.
Two fine gentlemen right there. You'd like having your youngster play for either of those men. Nice to see James Rodgers. We hope he's going to be okay. That was a blow to Oregon State when they lost him. There's his brother. Players on these two teams, there's a lot of friends and people who played with and competed against each other in high schools. And let's check in now with Aaron and the fine young quarterback of Boise State.
Brent, thanks. Kellen, first of all, Coach Peterson told us yesterday, being on a national stage tonight, he didn't care about your team making a statement in terms of rankings. He just wanted you guys to play well. What did you want to prove tonight?
Yeah, I think just come out with a lot of energy, just enjoy this thing and have fun, and play well out in front of the national stage.
How do you guys think you played?
I think we played pretty well. That was a good team. They played neck and neck with TCU right early in the season, and they're a good football team. They got some good players.
Kirk was talking all night that you were just kind of putting on a clinic, the way you were able to distribute the ball all night. What was key in doing that?
I think it's nice when you have good wide receivers like I do, so they make me look good.
And talk about the time. It seems like you had so much time out there. Why?
Yeah, awesome job by the offensive line. Recognize when they blitz, and when they don't, they do a great job of holding up.
All right, Kellen, thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Aaron.
All right, Brent.
All right, Aaron, thank you very much. So Kellen Moore and the Boise State Broncos will thank some of their loyal fans as they head on inside and celebrate their 37-24 win. We want to thank you for watching ESPN on ABC. Now we're going to take you to Times Square for the Ford wrap-up with Robert Flores. Robert, take it away.